Namaskar. Today we will learn about physics behind the satellite. The object we frequently hear when it comes to space missions is a satellite. In this lecture, we will understand what satellites are, what keeps them in their orbits, and why we inject satellites into a particular orbit for a specific purpose. The first question is, what is a satellite? In its simplest definition, a satellite is a body that orbits around a planet or any celestial body in space. Generally, we categorize satellites based on their formation as natural and artificial. As the name suggests, natural satellites are natural objects that revolve around a planet or a star. Natural satellites of a star are called planets, and the planet's natural satellites are called moons. For example, the Earth is a planet in the solar system as it revolves around the sun, and so are the other 7 planets. The moon is Earth's natural satellite, and moons of other planets have unique names. For example, Mars has 2 moons named Phobos and Deimos. Artificial satellites are put into orbit to revolve around planets and other bodies by humans using rockets. They serve various purposes such as communication, remote sensing, navigation, and satellite exploration. The term spacecraft is more general, which includes satellites, interplanetary and lunar crafts, human space modules, space stations, etc. Now we will learn about the types of orbits. To understand better how a satellite orbits another celestial body, it is important to learn the various orbital shapes and understand Kepler's laws of planetary motion. We have 4 types of orbits, namely circular, elliptical, parabola, and hyperbola. You can see from the image that all the orbits can be obtained by dissecting a conical section at various locations at angles. A circle is obtained by cutting a cone parallel to its opening area. Here, we can see the circle. Ellipse with some slight angle horizontally. Here, hyperbola is obtained by cutting the cone vertically, whereas parabola is at some angle to the vertical axis. Planets and natural satellites are held in closed elliptical and circular orbits by the celestial bodies they orbit, whereas rockets use parabolic and hyperbolic orbits to escape from a planet or a body forever. Most natural orbits are elliptical. You might be familiar with a circle. It has a center and all points lie at a fixed distance from the center, called the radius. But in case of ellipse, it has 2 foci and 2 axes, and one connecting the foci called the major axis and the one perpendicular to it called the minor axis. Periapsis is the closest point. Periapsis is the closest distance one can be from a celestial body at the focus, and apopsis is the farthest distance that one can consider in an ellipse from a celestial body at the focus. If Sun is at one focus, then the closest and farthest points are called perihelion and aphelion respectively. If the Earth is at one focus, it is called perigee and apogee. The last and the most important term we have to be familiar with is eccentricity. The eccentricity of an astronomical orbit is a measure of its deviation from circularity. It is considered that a circle is an ellipse with eccentricity equal to 0. When the value of E increases, the shape of the circle changes and at E is equal to 1 becomes a parabola. Therefore, an ellipse is defined to have eccentricity in the range of 0 to 1. Now we will learn about Kepler's laws of planetary motion. It was Johannes Kepler with his observations who said that the planets do not revolve in circular orbit around the Sun. Instead, they orbit in an elliptical orbit. Kepler's first law is law of orbit. It states that all planets move in elliptical orbit with the Sun as one focus. The photos we see of the solar system where the 8 planets revolve around the Sun is perfectly circular orbits are incorrect. Planets usually revolve in elliptical orbits with Sun occupying one focus. Kepler's second law is law of areas. It states that a line that connects a planet to the Sun sweeps out equal area in equal intervals of time. Consider a planet moving from point A to B for a certain time period t, and then moving from point C to D for the same time. By Kepler's second law, the areas covered by arcs AB, AOB and COD are equal. In other words, area velocity is constant for planetary motion. Kepler's third law is law of periods. It states that the squares of the orbital periods of the planets are directly proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis of their orbits. This law states that the time period t and the semi-major axis a are related by t square directly proportional to a cube, where semi-major axis is equal to Ra plus Rp by 2. Ra and Rp are shown in the figure. By using this law, we can find the time period of a planet or a satellite if we know the dimensions of the orbit, or we can find the location of a planet or a satellite if we know the time period of that particular orbit. Now that we have seen various types of satellites, now that we have seen various types of orbits, how do we get there? Newton's cannonball is a hypothesis on how to reach an orbit around a planet or escape it. If a cannon is thrown simply, it will fall on the ground due to Earth's gravitational force. If the same cannon is thrown at a certain velocity, it will travel a particular distance and then touch the ground. At a specific velocity, the cannon will not fall back to the Earth. Instead, it will begin orbiting. Isaac Newton explains that this is due to the cannon attaining an orbital velocity. The last scenario is where the cannon just escapes the Earth's gravitational force when it attains the escape velocity of the planet. Speed and velocity are different. While both describe the rate of change of distance, velocity also describes the change in direction of motion. Assume a train moving at a certain speed suddenly reverses direction without any change in speed. Now, the speed would be the same as before, but velocity would have changed from a positive to a negative value. Speed is called a scalar quantity because it only has a magnitude, and velocity is a vector quantity as it has both a value and a direction represented by positive or negative sign. Now we will learn about forces acting while satellite orbit. Satellites are subjected to gravitational pull similar to Newton's apple, which makes an object fall to the Earth's surface. When a satellite is released by a rocket at the desired height, a horizontal force is imparted. This tangential force and the gravitational pull act at right angles, resulting in a circular motion of the satellite. Consider capital M to be the mass of the Earth, small m to be the mass of the satellite, capital R to be the radius of the Earth, small h to be the height of the satellite from the surface of the Earth, VO to be the velocity required for a particular orbit for the stability of the satellite, small g to be the acceleration due to gravity, and capital G to be the Newton's gravitational constant. Then gravitational force will be equal to Gmm by r plus h whole square. Please note down the values of G, M and R. A revolving object like a stone attached to a swinging string or a satellite orbiting Earth experiences centripetal force pulling it toward the center. In the case of the stone, it is the string's tension. For the satellite, it is the virtual string of gravitational force. An equal and opposite force acts on the satellite, pushing it away from the Earth. This force is known as centrifugal force. Mathematically, it is expressed as mvo square by r plus h. Gravitational force and centrifugal force balance each other, and in the absence of any net force, satellite orbits with constant orbital velocity. By equating both these forces, we can derive an expression for orbital velocity. Orbital velocity is equal to under root capital G capital M by r plus h. Now substitute the values and solve the equation to find the orbital velocity for h is equal to 200 km and 600 km. For 200 km, it is 7.788 km per second, and for 600 km, it is 7.561 km per second. You will notice the following. With an increase in height, the velocity decreases. A satellite in higher orbits is relatively slower. Escape velocity. If a satellite is launched to space at a certain velocity greater than the orbital velocity, then it escapes from the Earth's gravitational force. That velocity is called escape velocity. Let us derive an equation to find the escape velocity for any celestial body. Consider a satellite of mass m orbiting the Earth at an altitude h. At a certain point, there is kinetic energy acting on a satellite as well as gravitational potential energy. According to law of conservation of energy, the total energy of a closed system remains constant, which means the sum of kinetic energy and gravitational potential energy will be constant at all the points. At height h, the total energy will be equal to kinetic energy plus gravitational potential energy. The kinetic energy is equal to half mve square, and gravitational potential energy is equal to minus g mm by r plus h. At infinite altitude, h will be infinite, and thus gravitational potential energy will be equal to 0. According to law of conservation, total energy will be equal in both the cases. By equating total energy in both the cases, we find an expression of escape velocity. By putting all the values at h is equal to 0, we can calculate escape velocity at Earth's surface. Escape velocity at the surface of the Earth is 11.18 km per second. Orbital velocity. It is the velocity at which a satellite orbits a celestial body and is fast enough to counteract the gravitational force of the respective celestial body. It is equal to under root gm by r. The orbital velocity is high closer to the celestial body and reduces as we move away from it. The orbital velocity of Earth is 7.9 into 10 to the power 3 meter per second. Escape velocity. It is the speed at which a satellite needs to be launched in order to break free from the gravitational attraction of the celestial body. It is given by under root 2gm by r. The escape velocity decreases with altitude and it is equal to under root 2 times the velocity required to remain in the orbit at the same altitude. Escape velocity of the Earth is 11.18 into 10 to the power 3 meter per second. How are the velocity of a satellite and the time it takes to rotate related? Time period for rotation of the satellite is given by the equation T is equal to 2 pi r plus h by VO. When we substitute the value for h and solve the equation, we get several points. If we plot them into graph, we get something like this. From the above graph, we can infer that if the altitude increases, the orbital period also increases. Now solve these problems using this graph. Calculate the height required to achieve a time period of 24 hours means height required for a geostationary orbit. Calculate the average distance of the moon from the earth if the moon rotates around the earth in 27.322 days. These are exercises for you. When satellite is orbiting, the total energy a satellite will have is equal to gravitational potential energy and orbital kinetic energy. Solving the equation gives us the value of total velocity. Total velocity is equal to under root gm r plus 2h by r plus h. Solving the equation for various values of h altitude, we get various data sets. If we plot both the total velocity and orbital velocity on the same graph, we get something like this. From the above graph, if you enter the altitude of low Earth orbit, middle Earth orbit and high Earth orbit, we can find the exact value of orbital velocity VO and total velocity VT. Low Earth orbits lie between 180 km and 2000 km from Earth's surface. So, VO to stably be in the low Earth orbit from 7.8 km per second to 6.9 km per second, and VT to reach there should be from 8.018 km per second to 8.804 km per second. Middle Earth orbit lie between 8,000 km to 35,780 km in height. So VO to stably be in an middle Earth orbit should be from 6.9 km per second to 3.075 km per second, and VT to reach there should be from 8.804 km per second to 10.755 km per second. High Earth orbits lie above the 35,780 km height. So VO to stably be in an higher Earth orbit should be 3.075 km per second or lower, and VT to reach there should be 10.755 km per second or higher. Let us learn about types of orbit based on shape. Circular orbit. A circular orbit is a path on which every point is equally distant from the planet's center. Elliptical orbit. An elliptical orbit is a path where the satellite orbits in an elliptical shape round the host's planet, which would be at one of the foci of the ellipse. Parabolic orbit. A parabolic path is a trajectory of an object used for orbital maneuvering where an approaching object entering the planet's orbit is low enough to catch it and place it into the planet's orbit, or an object already in orbit can be used to send out of it by increasing its velocity. Hyperbolic orbit. A hyperbolic path is a trajectory of an object used for orbital maneuvering as well, but this is one where the approaching object already has enough speed to enter the planet's orbit and then escape it with an adjustment to its velocity and direction. This method of maneuvering is called gravity assist. Let us learn about types of orbit based on inclination. Equatorial orbit. It is an orbit directly coinciding with the equator such that a satellite in this orbit stays on top of the equator throughout its orbit. Polar orbit. This orbit is perpendicular to the equator, passing over the poles and intersecting twice with the equatorial orbit. Inclined orbit. As the name suggests, it is inclined at an angle that is not parallel or perpendicular to the equator. The third orbit category is based on the altitude. These are suborbital trajectory, low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, geostationary orbit, polar orbit, sun synchronous orbit, and halo orbit. Suborbital trajectory. As you can see from the image here, this path is taken by sounding rockets and missiles. They are launched to reach the upper atmosphere or outer space but will not have enough speed to escape Earth's gravity or enter an orbit. These short duration trajectories provide an excellent opportunity to conduct scientific experiments at low costs. The low Earth orbit. The satellite in low Earth orbit is at a height of around 180 to 2000 km from the Earth's surface. Satellites in this orbit travel at a speed of around 7.8 km per second. At this speed, a satellite takes approximately 90 minutes to circle Earth. The International Space Station is also a part of this range at around 600 km height. Mid-Earth orbit. As previously mentioned, the satellite in mid-Earth orbit is at a height of around 2000 to 35,780 km from the Earth's surface. It can either be a circular or an elliptical orbit. Geostationary orbit. Geostationary orbit lie in the equatorial plane and the orbital period of satellites here coincide with the Earth's rotation by taking 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds at the speed corresponding to Earth's spin. Thus, they appear to be stationary at a position with respect to the rotation of Earth. The height of the geostationary orbit from the Earth's surface is calculated to be 35,786 km in the previous section. Geostationary orbits are preferred for communication satellites as they are accessible to a large area on Earth at once, as their subtended angular reach extends to 81 degrees on all sides, and as they remain stationary in the sky with respect to the ground stations, which will avoid the cost to set up movable antennas to track non-stationary satellites. Polar orbit. Satellites in polar orbits usually travel past Earth from north to south, approximately over Earth's pole. They, however, do not have to pass accurately over the north and south pole. Even a deviation within 20 to 30 degrees is still classified as a polar orbit. Polar orbits are considered to be a type of low Earth orbit as they are at low altitudes between 200 to 1000 km. Sun synchronous orbit is a different and specific type of polar orbit. Satellites orbiting in sun synchronous orbit are synchronous with the sun, meaning they stay in the same fixed position relative to the sun. This implies that it always passes over the same spot at a particular local time. For instance, passing the city of New Delhi every day at the same time. Sun synchronous orbits are useful in remote sensing and imaging satellites because this orbit enables the satellite to have similar level of solar illumination on the Earth's surface every time they reach a particular point to observe it. Halo orbits. Consider a system of three objects, Let us take the Sun, Earth, and satellite. There are specific points in the system where the gravitational forces of the two massive bodies are at equilibrium such that a third small body, here a satellite, can safely orbit around the point between without drifting into an orbit around the Sun. The points are called Lagrangian points and the orbit is called a halo orbit. This orbit is preferred for space telescope missions as there will be less noise in space than near Earth. ISRO's upcoming solar mission Aditya L1 will take such an orbit. Orbit transfer. Transfer orbits belong to a unique category of orbits that are used to move the satellite from one orbit to another. When satellites are launched to space with launch vehicles, the satellites are not always injected directly into their final orbit. Instead, they are often placed in a transfer orbit, an orbit where the satellite or spacecraft can be shifted from one orbit to another using comparatively lesser energy from built-in thrusters. Hohmann transfer orbit. Hohmann orbit is an elliptical orbit that is used to assist a transfer between two concentric circular orbits. It is one of the most efficient orbit transfers as it uses a relatively small amount of propellant. It uses two impulse boosts, one to shift the satellite from an initial circular orbit to an elliptical Hohmann orbit and the another to shift it from the elliptical Hohmann orbit to the desired final circular orbit. This is most commonly used for interplanetary transfers or transfers between any two celestial bodies and is usually done when the bodies are at their closest points to each other. Bi-elliptical transfer orbit. Bi-elliptical transfer is another method of transferring a satellite from one orbit to another. This transfer involves a couple of half-elliptical maneuvers. First, the satellite is boosted at the perigee of the initial orbit and takes a half-elliptical path. Then the satellite reaches the new apogee. A second burn boosts the satellite to follow another half-elliptical path reaching the new perigee. A final burn at this point helps the satellite into the desired orbit. Some bi-elliptical transfers can be more fuel efficient than Hohmann transfer. Geosynchronous transfer orbit. This orbit transfers geostationary satellites into geosynchronous orbits. Both geostationary and geosynchronous orbits have a rotation period the same as the rotation period of Earth, that is 23 hours 56 minutes 4 seconds. But the orbit plane of geosynchronous satellites can be at any inclination with respect to the equatorial plane of Earth. Often, geostationary communication satellites have been injected in geosynchronous transfer orbit and maneuvered to geostationary orbit from a mission design optimization point of view. Lunar transfer orbit. Transfer is made from the Earth's orbit to the Moon. There is a maneuver called translunar injection which carries satellites from low Earth orbit to lunar orbits with Hohmann-like transfer. Lunar gravity also helps slingshot other spacecrafts to various places. The translunar injection can be adjusted to use the gravitational field of the Moon for a flyby, and this trajectory is called moon-free return trajectory. Does satellite need the fuel to orbit? This is one of the most asked questions. The answer is no. The satellite put into orbit does not require fuel while orbiting. The force initially imparted on the satellite when the rocket puts in the orbit is enough to give the body the kinetic energy to move it a circular orbit without falling back to the ground. In orbit, the drag is negligible. Various other perturbances act on the satellite. Although these forces are small in magnitude, After a long time, this will change the orbit parameters. For low Earth orbit satellites, drag is significant due to the presence of some gases present in low orbits. If not corrected, the height of the orbit will slowly decrease and finally it will re-enter the atmosphere and burn off due to friction. Maneuvering. To maintain the intended orbit, small thrusters are used to impart a small amount of energy. The technical term for this process of using thrusters is delta V or burn. These satellites carry some amount of propellants along with them. There are also other risks in orbit like near-Earth objects, space debris, and solar storms that can change the orbit of the satellite or entirely destroy them. A burn is also used for such emergency conditions. But frequent burns will reduce the operational life of the satellite as it will exhaust the fuel and the satellite will start to re-enter Earth's atmosphere. The sustainable solution in the long run is to manage human-made issues like space debris. Thank you for attending this lecture.